Good morning students, welcome to the online class for standard 10. Today we will do the chapter His First Flight, and you can see the proverb on the beginning of this page. The journey of 1,000 miles begin with a single step, and that is the theme, or that's the you can say the morale of this story, where you can see a young seagull. It's a bird, and how he is fighting over his fear. And what is that fear? His first flight. How he will take his first flight. So let's see, and let's know some more thing about the writer, Liam O'Flaherty. So he is an Irish novelist born on August 28, 1896 and died in 7 September 1984. And he was a major Irish novelist, short story writer, and must be ranked as one of the foremost socialist writers in the first part of the 20th century. He was writing about the common people's experience and from his perspective. And who are the other Irish people or the writers who wrote in their language? They are Sean O'Casey, Patrick O'Connery, then Peter O'Donnell, Martin O'Callaghan, and Shiosham McBriana. So all of them Irish language speakers who chose to write either in Irish or in English. So you know that his works combine brutal naturalism, psychological analysis, poetry, and biting satire with an abiding respect for the courage and persistence of the Irish people. He was considered to be a leading figure of the Irish Renaissance. O'Flaherty abandoned his training for the priesthood and embarked on a varied career as a soldier in World War I and an international wanderer in South America, Canada, and the United States and the Middle East. He labored in such occupations as lumberjack, hotel porter, miner, factory worker, dishwasher, bank clerk, and deckhand after taking part in revolutionary activities in Ireland. So he has done very odd jobs, and he just left his training in between, and he did all this work, and he was a traveler. He traveled from place to place and did this work. And his works, the writings, they are considered to be the leading figure, and they are considered to be the you can say that the mark of courage and persistence of this Irish people. Let's read this story. Chapter 3 consists of two stories about flying. One is his first flight, which is written by O'Flaherty, and then Black Aeroplane, written by Frederick Forsyth. And you can see the picture of seagull there, looking at the vast stretch of the water, and in the second one taking the first flight. Let's see. As you know that the people, the human beings, they always dreamt of conquering the skies. They always wanted to fly, and these two stories, they tell the dying spirit, and they tell about the desire of the people. And in one it's the seagull, and the other about the pilot. So these two stories are about flying. So how the first bird, that seagull, was afraid to fly, and whether he conquers his fear or not is described in the story. And the second story deals with the pilot who is lost in the stormy cloud storms, and then what happens to him, whether he arrives safely And who helps him? It's about the theme of black aeroplane. Let's see. Every first step in life needs courage and self-confidence. To cover a distance of 100 miles, we have to take a first step. The journey begins with that first step, isn't it? You can see the picture of a child, a small kid. He's taking his first step and he is full of fear that whether he will fall down or not. But that courage and self-confidence helps him to take the first step, and then he moves ahead and doesn't look back. Now let's see the picture. So there is a seagull, there is a mountain cliff, ledge. Okay, so let's see, come to the story. The young seagull was alone on his ledge. His two brothers and his sister had already flown away the day before. So now we know about the family members of the seagull. He had two brothers and one sister, and there are total in 4 in number, and the parents, and but now nobody is with him, so he is all alone on his ledge. Ledge means a narrow horizontal shelf projecting from a wall or a cliff. Okay, here it is a mountain cliff. So you can see the edge of that cliff in the first picture. And now what happened to other friends, other siblings? They have flown away. He had been afraid to fly with them. Here lies the problem. Why he is alone there on this ledge? He is alone because of that fear to fly. He was afraid to fly with them. Somehow, when he had taken a little run forward to the brink of the ledge and attempted to flap his wings, he became afraid. So now what happened? When he was trying to run a little forward and to the ledge, and so that he can jump and he can open his wings and move his wings up and down and prepare to fly, suddenly what happened? He became afraid. So let's see what's the reason. The great expanse of sea stretched down beneath. So what is so? You could see the picture in the second one. There is sea underneath. Beneath there is a vast stretch of wide continuous area of sea, and it was such a long way down. In the first picture you can see that this is such a long way down, miles down. That's the reason which made him afraid, made him frightened. The depth of that place and the vast area of water. And he was really frightened that if he will fly and his wings won't support him, what will happen? He will fall down. He felt certain that his wings would never support him. So he bent his head and ran away back to the little hole under the ledge where he slept at night. So he took his first step, but he was so afraid that he gave up and rather ran back to the place where he was sleeping. Even when each of his brothers and little sister, whose wings were far shorter than his own, ran to the brink, flapped their wings and flew away. So what about the other siblings? Their wings were very short, and compared to this seagull, young seagull. But still, what they did, they ran to the edge. Brink means edge. They ran to the edge of that, extreme edge of that ledge, and they took that jump and they flapped there. They just moved the wings, they flapped it, and they flew away. But he couldn't gather courage. He failed to muster up courage to take that plunge, which appeared to him so desperate. So this young seagull, he was so afraid that he couldn't take that plunge, and then he failed to gather courage and he came back and his parents who had come around. These are the, you can see the word meaning, you can note it down. Calling to him shrilly, upbraiding him, threatening to let him starve on his ledge unless he flew away. So now what happened? The parents, the father and mother, so they called him very rudely, they spoke to him very loudly, and in a very loud voice, they very rough tone, they talked with him, they scolded him, and they also threatened him that he will die there or he will not be given any food and he will starve on this ledge unless he flew away. So nobody is going to give him food. And after that, what happened? He flew away? No. But for the life of him, he couldn't move. So he was so afraid within that he didn't move. And next, what happened? After that, you can see the top picture. The parents, the two brothers and one sister, and what they did? They flew away. And he was all alone. That was 24 hours ago. Since then, nobody had come near him. The day before, all day long, he had watched his parents flying about with his brothers and sister. You can see the picture on top of the slide. Perfecting them in the art of flight. So how they could fly very nicely. They would be perfect in flying, and teaching them how to skim. You can see the other picture where the bird is walking on the surface of the water. So what is skimming? To move very lightly and very swiftly on the surface of the water, sea. And what else? And teaching them how to skim the waves and how to dive for fish. You can see in the next picture, and the seagull is able to catch a fish. So what the parents taught these birds, the other brothers and sisters, to fly, to perfect the flying, and then how to skim on the water, the waves, and then how to dive for fish. He had in fact seen his older brother catch his first herring and devour it. So he saw that elder brother, you can see the picture, that how the bird is skimming on the water and then catching the fish. And his older brother, he was able to catch his first fish. Herring is a kind of sea fish. And then what happened? And devour it. Devour means eat quickly, eat it. So the first brother, the older brother, he was able to eat the fish and successful in catching his first fish. Standing on a rock, he was eating it. And what about the parents? What they did? While his parents circled around, raising a proud cackle, and the parents, they appreciated him, they applauded him, they just you can say were full of praise for this older brother because he was successful. He learnt the art of catching fish and he will not live in hunger. So he was able to catch his first fish, and so the parents were full of pride for him. So they were proud of him, and they made a cackle sound, the loud sound, and they just made a circle around him. And all the morning, what the family did, except the young seagull, the family had walked about on the big plateau midway down the opposite cliff, taunting him with his cowardice. So all the family members, they taunted him and they called him coward, and he lacked bravery. He is not able to take his first flight, and everybody was enjoying, and they were learning how to skim in the water, how to catch the fish, and they were even successful. The parents were full of encouragement, full of pride. They were very proud of this older seagull and other brothers and sisters, except the young seagull who was too coward and he was too afraid to take the first flight. So next, see. The sun was now ascending the sky, blazing on his ledge that faced the south. He felt the heat because he had not eaten since the previous nightfall. So now what happened? The seagull was hungry. He had not eaten anything, and the heat of the sun was growing. And let's see what happened. Now he stepped slowly out to the brink of the ledge, and standing on one leg with the other leg hidden under his wing, he closed one eye and then the other. So now you can see the picture. The seagull is standing on one leg. So what happened? He came to the edge of that cliff, and he stood there in one leg and pretended to sleep. And still they took no notice him. So he thought that the brothers and sisters, parents, everybody will take notice of him, that he is standing on the ledge and at the end, and he is sleeping, so he may fall down and they will come to rescue him, or they will come to him. But no, nothing such happened. They didn't take notice of him. He saw his two brothers and his sister lying on the plateau, dozing with their heads sunk into their necks. You can see the picture, that how the seagull is sleeping, putting his head under the feathers, and the head is sunk in their necks. And what the father is doing in the second picture, preening his feathers on his white beak, on his white back. So the picture shows black, but the seagulls, there are many kind of seagulls, black color, gray color, white also. So you can see how the bird is preening or making an effort to maintain the feathers, how he tries to maintain the feathers. And this is the activity of preening. You can see the picture of a seagull preening the feathers. And what his father was doing, he was doing that, and only his mother was looking at him. So who was looking at this young seagull standing on the ledge and sleeping and closing his one eye? His mother. She was standing on a little high hump on the plateau, her white breast thrust forward. Now and again she tore at a piece of fish that lay at her feet and then scrapped. You can see the other picture where a bird is scrapping or eating the feet, and the bird is tearing the part of the fish, and he is putting his leg or feet on it, and then how is scraping each side of her beak on the rock. So eating and sharpening her beak. The sight of the food maddened him. How he loved to tear food that way, scraping his beak now and again to wet it, to sharpen it. So now what happened? So when the food or the fish was seen by the seagull, so he was maddened. He became mad because the hunger in him was making him mad. He was hungry for the last few hours. He has not eaten anything. Even the family members are not taking notice of him. He is all alone, and only the mother was looking at him, and the sight of the food on her feet made him mad. And he thought that how he used to love it, how he used to love to tear the food and to scrap his beak. And thank you for today, and we will continue the next chapter.